Our speaker this morning is Callie Connelly. Callie is a four-year student from Elverson, Pennsylvania. She's a prefect in Markle, SGA senator, president of the Hobart's Run Student Leadership Committee. She's the roommate of Emily Fairfield, and she's my sister. Good luck, Callie. You're going to do great.
Thank you, Wesley. I want to start today with a quote. Comparison is the thief of joy. I first came across this quote attributed to Teddy Roosevelt during the winter of my third form year. At the time, I remember thinking that it would make a good thought of the day, but having arrived at Hill only a few months before, I didn't feel prepared to speak in front of the whole school. When I first arrived as a third former, the beautiful dining hall that I experienced during my visit day to Hill, the one we all enjoy together now, was being renovated. Back then, we came together for our meals in what was called Dell Dining, an impressively large, loud tent situated where Dellside Dorm is today. The lectern in the front was deeply intimidating to me, so although I wanted to share this quote, I thought I'd give it a year, wait at least until I wasn't in the third form, and then give it a shot. I guess that's lesson one of this talk. Don't put things off, because by the time a year had passed, I no longer had the opportunity to stand in front of the dining hall and address my peers. Thoughts of the day had been moved online to Today on the Hill, and while the tradition remains strong, even when we didn't all meet in the dining hall, I was determined to face my third form fear and speak in front of the whole school. So by the time Chapel Talks opened up in the summer of my sixth form year, I jumped at the opportunity to address the Hill community and deliver a somewhat overdue and extended thought of the day, one that has roots in my first months at Hill. The don't put things off message is one I know we've all heard before. I share it today as a bit of a bonus because it's linked situationally to the quote I want to discuss. Comparison is the thief of joy. Comparing ourselves to others ultimately robs us of happiness. It's the judgment that steals our joy. If we compare ourselves unfavorably, we feel inadequate and disappointed. If we judge ourselves superior, we create fractures in the fabric that is meant to hold us together. For those of you who don't know, I have a twin brother, Wesley. As a twin, there's always been an element of comparison or competition in my life. When we were in elementary school, as soon as I finished my test, I would look over at Wesley to see if his pencil was down. I wanted to beat him so badly. And when he finished first, it was infuriating. When I won, however, it was thrilling. Competition wasn't limited to school, though. When our cousins would come over, we'd all play Mario Kart on the Wii. It was an intense competition, as it always is, but I was always concerned about how I performed compared to Wesley. I could get second to last place, but if he got last, I would be happy. And I'm sure anyone with a sibling can relate to this, feeling the need to follow in the footsteps of your older siblings or set a good example for the younger ones. But having a twin provides this unique opportunity for direct head-to-head competition, which is both healthy and not. My brother and I have experienced a lot of the world together, and we've had largely the same opportunities. And in many situations, competing against each other has helped to push us forward. But the comparisons also create challenges. I find myself actively having to focus on what I want to study and what I want to do, and not what I think I should be doing based on my brother's course load or extracurricular activities. This comparison, this competition, does exactly what Roosevelt described. It steals joy. It defines my happiness in a relative position. It sounds dramatic, I'm sure, but in my personal case, I feel this pressure, this internal pressure to be on the same track as my brother, even though he is more scientifically focused than I am. I find myself wondering if I should be taking more advanced STEM courses, even though anyone who knows me knows that I would struggle through them. Over time, it's become clear to me how unhealthy it is to be in a constant state of comparison with someone. And I've learned that I'm much better served when I compete with myself, pushing myself to bring my best effort and accept the results without judgment. Loving yourself and focusing on what brings you joy is simultaneously one of the healthiest and hardest things a person can do. Of course, this quote has an even larger meaning within the context of our school. Although Hill nurtures an environment of collaboration and support, attending a college prep school is an inherently competitive thing. Students here are vying for seats at highly selective universities and places on championship teams. And while we do a fantastic job of supporting one another in these processes, it's incredibly draining to be concerned about all of these things at once. The stress of tryouts, trying to make a varsity team, or the intense studying of trying to earn a place on the dean's list are examples of friendly competition aimed at pushing our student body to be the best that we can be. However, it's important to remember that at the end of the day, there are more important things than a major age sweater. For this year's senior class, one needed a GPA no lower than a 4.75 to be placed on the dean's list. That number is astonishing. All A's in all AP classes just barely reached that 4.75 mark. And while we as students should be proud to be a part of such an intelligent and hardworking community, it's important to remember that making the dean's list is only one of many measures of success. For everyone who made the dean's list, a sincere congratulations. And for the rest of us who didn't quite hit the mark, be proud of what you have accomplished. Roosevelt's quote has been echoing in my mind for the past few months because as a sixth former, I know this experience of competition is magnified through the college process. Every relative, every family friend, every older sibling or third cousin wants to know where you're applying and what you want to study. Everyone has an opinion on the college process, and they won't hesitate to share it with you. People will tell you that you'll never find a job with that degree. People will say that your cousin went to med school and look how happy he is. You'll hear that you'll never get into such a selective school, or that you should aim higher because if it's not the Ivy League, it's not worth your time. Tuning out this noise, this unwelcome commentary, is one of the hardest things to do, especially when these opinions come from people who you trust and value. But it comes back to the second half of my quote, joy. I recently listened to a TED Talk delivered by a man named Clayton Bias. He described his life beginning as a troubled adolescent with nothing but a skateboard and a backpack to now as a powerful executive in the music industry, working with well-known artists like Kanye West and Eminem. He owes his success to the very thing that his guidance counselors and teachers dismissed him for, his skateboard. His passion for skateboarding, a passion that alienated him from the crowd of people who were finding internships and working the corporate jobs that he desired, actually allowed him to find the success that he did. He found a job as a music reviewer for Thrasher magazine, which, for those of you who don't know, is a publication focused on the skateboarding scene, photography, interviews, and most importantly for Clayton, music reviews. At this job, he gained a wealth of knowledge regarding up-and-coming artists in a genre of music that was rapidly gaining mainstream popularity. His early understanding of this contemporary music gave him an edge over his competitors and allowed him to reach such high levels of success. My point here is that despite the pressure to follow others, forging your own path and focusing on what brings you joy is critical. Success can be achieved in so many ways, and being different, following an unconventional path, is more often than not an asset. I believe that at the end of the day, joy should be the goal. Whether you'd find fulfillment and happiness as a lawyer or a sculptor, a musician or an anesthesiologist, everyone's path will differ, and we as a community should find empowerment in that. Worrying about the progress that others are making is nothing but a distraction from your own. Take President Roosevelt's words to heart and don't let anything rob you of your joy. Thank you.